It's been 6 weeks now since we had the last session on meaning of the Quran. Had Ramadan and then had the last 2 weeks doing other subjects. We have been in 6 weeks now. Okay.
Do you check Facebook?
I don't know, but I've stopped it. Now we have started Surah Al-Baqarah, and we went through a lot of phrases in Surah Al-Baqarah, and I think we reached the end of the first page, which is a quarter of a page, and now we are going to go through the second page. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. إن الذين كفروا was a statement. Allah is making a statement that those who disbelieved and reject the faith. Kafaru, we came across it. Kafaru, kafara means, it's like English actually. Kafara means covered up. Kafara, from kuffar. Kuffar are the farmers. They hide the seeds. They cover it up. As no one can purely deny that Allah is the creator. No one can ever say that the universe came from nothing, existed by itself, with the mighty of the creation and the complexity. So they mostly cover up. I was listening to what was there before the Big Bang, and he said it wasn't before the Big Bang. If you go back the time before 1/10⁻13, you know nothing. And the beginning of the universe started in a fraction of a second, 1/10⁻46. It's 10 and 1 and 46 zeros next to it. From 1/10⁻46 zeros to 1/10⁻13, they don't know. In that period, also the universe, although it was in existence, then they said the temperature was 7 trillion degrees centigrade. So, and they use the mathematics, obviously, use equations, what's possible, what's not possible. So even they can't even tell from the Big Bang to when the universe just forming. And that's bring to us how mighty Allah is to create something in so fraction of a second and just be. And Allah said, إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا أَنْ يَقُولَ لَهُ كُنْ فَيَكُونُ. إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا, if he wanted something, he just has to say to it, be. وَيَقُولَ لَهُ, when you listen to the meaning by Sheikh Sha'rawi, يقول له, I think I have pen better than this one. يقول له كن. يقول له كن فيكون. If he wants something, you just say to it, as if it is already there. You see? If I want to say to something which is not there, not created yet, so the fact that he will create it, even the thought of wanting it is quicker than the thought. Like when Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam, he wanted the throne of the Queen of Sheba. قال الذي عنده علم من الكتاب أنا آتيك به قبل أن يرتد إليك طرفك. The one who has knowledge from the book, he said to him, I will bring the throne before your eye blink. فلما رآه مستقرا أمامه. So the minute he said آتيك به قبل أن يرتد إليك طرفك, it was there instantly. So The time is like it doesn't exist. He wanted something that's there before even the time start counting. So when they started counting the time, the age of the universe, they started counting. The universe started over in a split of a second, 10 power of 46, and they were able only to start counting when the time was 10 power of 13. They couldn't even go to a smaller fraction of the second, that small, 46. So kafaru, they cover up. Even, I was talking, this is something called Don Lincoln. He's a professor in the Fermi Lab in America. So he's well-known physicist there. إن الذين, those who cover up things, إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أنذرتهم لم تنذرهم. إن الذين كفروا came, subhanallah, it came in Surah Al-Baqarah, the second chapter. It came in Surah Al-Imran again, the third page. إن الذين كفروا لن تغني عنهم أموالهم. When you try to memorize the Quran, you will see similarity, but you need to make sure that yes, this ayah is similar to the one in Baqarah, but there is something else attached to it. لن تغني عنهم أموالهم ولا أولادهم من الله شيئا. The money and the children will never benefit them before Allah Azza wa Jal. They can't defend them when Allah Azza wa Jal wants to punish them. So إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. It's the same for them whether you warn them or whether you don't, they will not believe. Why is that? Why the kafirin, whether you warn them or not, they will not believe? And then yet Allah Azza wa Jal wants us to go and invite them to believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. But what Allah is telling us here, is it like contradicting? These two ayahs like contradicting each other. Ya ayyuhal muddaththir qum fa'anzir. Or you cover up, go and warn people. Sorry?
Their hearts are sealed.
But what's the point to telling them?
You are not going to be able to do that. If Allah wants them, He will guide them. So
Does Allah Azza wa Jal ban people from becoming believers?
No, means it says that the guidance comes from Allah, so that if they don't believe, then you don't get disappointed. So that
The guidance from Allah, correct?
yeah. So if
To who? Who Allah will guide?
So the ones who ask for it.
The one
who asked.
who ask. Yeah. If they don't ask, they will not accept from you. So, luckily in this country, when I used to talk to them, I'm not interested, and they walk away. They don't waste my time. Some in the Middle East, he waste 2-3 hours, and then he's glad not to listen, but he didn't say it. At least the people who are brave enough to say, I'm not really interested. There's no point. So I invited a couple of nurses before I retired, husband and wife, and they said not interested, really. Not interested. I invited the nurse, a social worker once, and she came, and she liked my wife and things, like my children, but said, no, I'm not really interested. I want to remain Christian. She wasn't even prepared to open her ears or open her mind to it or look into things. So they're not after. So he's telling them, if they are not asking for it, you will be wasting your time. They will not believe, whether you warn them or not. But that doesn't mean you should not warn them. أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ. Your question. Whether you have warned them or you have not warned them. لا يؤمنون. إن الذين كفروا. He didn't say لن يؤمنون. While if you go to Prophet Nuh, Allah Azza wa Jal, He said to him, what did He say to him? Len. يؤمن. What's the difference between لن يؤمن and لا يؤمن?
Prohibited in the future as well. It'll never happen.
أوحي إلى نوح أنه لن يؤمن. لن, we call it نافية. نافية to the future. لا يؤمنون is a statement. لا يؤمنون, they will not believe unless they listen, unless they open their mind, unless they open their chest, unless they humble themselves. Because people who don't believe, Allah Azza wa Jal said He will not even allow them to believe. People who are liars, people who are sarcastic, people who are arrogant, people who are aggressive, people he named. إن الله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين. إن الله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. They need to get out of the dhulm. They need to get out of the lies. They need to get out of the arrogancy. So this is quite clear in the Quran. إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. لا يؤمنون. But he said about the people of Nuh, إنه لن يؤمن من قومك إلا من قد آمن. And that was fact. This is why Nuh, when Nuh made the prayer to Allah Azza wa Jal to destroy them, what's the point of them carrying on? They are obstacles in our way. Then they are not going to believe. Then رَبِّ لَا تَذَرْ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ دَيَّارًا. Said Allah Azza wa Jal, oh my Lord, never leave any person who is kafir on the face of the earth. Never. So they all drowned. Even his own son didn't believe. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ. Sawa'un means equal, the same. Yeah. Either you do this or you don't do this. It's the same. Never change. سواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. Why? Because ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة. ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم. He sealed their hearts and their hearing, and there is a veil on their eyes. So it's amazing. I mean, you could be talking to people and just go over their head. They don't listen. They plan not to listen. Sometimes if somebody hates you, he will never listen. He won't. You will. It's like some small event, and I know people who, like to listen. People who don't actually like to listen. They will listen to certain news. They will not listen to certain news. So I've sent this news, this news, this news. This news was listened to, and response came, as I expected. Selective hearing. Yeah. So, and sometimes you ask them. I said that, did you actually hear it? They probably didn't, because they planned not to hear. ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم. Like when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was talking to Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, he went back and he said something very beautiful, very smart. I didn't understand it. Because I was planning not to understand. But the beauty of the Arabic language and the beauty of the way it was narrated by the Prophet ﷺ was so attractive to Arabs who loves their language. Like the Prophet Musa ﷺ came with the magic things, supernatural things, defeated their magic. They were attracted to know and they believed. Isa ﷺ came with medicine and the cure and this and the faith healing. There's a group called Christian Scientists. They believe in the faith healing. And they are kuffar. They believe in the faith healing which done by Jesus والسلام, but they are kuffar. Do you know why? According to our measurements, they classified under kuffar. And when I spoke to the Christian about them, they said they are not Christian. So even the Christian didn't accept him as a Christian. Any idea? You don't know him?
Well, means according to the criteria, if you don't believe in all the Anbiya, you are not Muslim.
No, the Christian said they are not Christian.
Because they didn't believe in God?
No, they believe God is Jesus, Jesus is God. You know, the Trinity. All of them, obviously, not believers in Islamic, from Islamic point of view. But they said Jesus must have discovered ways to treat people, ways to bring dead people back to life. If we get it, we will be able to do like Jesus did. So indirectly denying Jesus the divine gift from Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah Azza wa Jal made him able to do it. Like Allah Azza wa Jal made Ibrahim able to bring the birds to life. He said, how would you كيف تحيي الموتى قال أولم تؤمن قال بلى ولكن يطمئن قلبي قال خذ أربعة من الطير فصرهن واجعل على كل رأس جبل منهن جزءا ثم ادعهن يأتينك سعيا. These birds, cut them into pieces and put the pieces on the top of the mountains, and you call them. I will make you able to bring these birds back to life. And he was. So that's the beauty. I mean, I'm a doctor. I can't treat a psychiatric patient. I can't make my wife able to treat a psychiatric patient. Although she tries, you know, like the wife of the doctor is half a doctor. I don't know about your wife. And they ask her, oh, you know, what's she does volunteer.
Well,
I said,
at home they are the doctors.
yeah.
So not half the doctors.
So, but Allah Azza wa Jal, being Allah Azza wa Jal, He was able to make Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, those da, bringing the birds back to life, and so did Musa by hitting the dead person with the tail of the cow. It wasn't like Allah Azza wa Jal, He could have brought this dead to life. He said, no, I want you. I will make you able to. Now,
I was just wondering why Allah used here Khatam Allahu for Qulubihim and Sam'ihim and Rishawa for Absarihim.
and they will have severe punishment. How would you get rid of this sealed heart and hearing and remove the veil?
No,
By
I was just wondering why didn't Khatama for all three of them?
Khatama,
For
all of them.
Qulub, Sam'i and Absar. Why difference? For two is sealed and one is covered. What's the
Wisdom behind it.
wisdom or why there two things are sealed and one thing is covered?
Depends where you put the pause. You can say ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة.
Can you examine a person whether he is hearing or not? Obviously, without brain EEG or whatever. But can you find out if he's hearing or not if he doesn't report to you?
Can he hear or not? No, if he has to report.
He had to report. But the eyes, you can put a torch on the eye and see the reaction of the eye and things. As a doctor, you can say
yes and no.
physically he should be able to see. You examine the fundus and you examine the
because it could be some neurological problem.
yeah, I'm saying without using EEG or EEG.
So I mean, the person's eye might be looking okay, but then they still could be blind if they've got nerve issues.
Yeah.
Then they won't be able to see. But looking at their eye, they might look okay. The eye structure it might look okay, but function could still be lost.
Yeah, from the brain, from the center.
So it means that from that point of view, from that question, maybe we can't even tell about the eyes either.
I don't actually know, but you could see later in the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal قالوا قلوبنا غلف بل لعنهم الله بظلمهم فكثيرا وقليلا ما يؤمنون.
Just to share my thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the ayah. But I think essentially the idea is Khatam Allahu. So we were reflecting on this before. Allah is always one step ahead. So there's no idea that someone can deceive Allah.
Yeah.
So Allah says Khatam Allahu ala qulubihim. So Allah has already sealed their heart as a consequence of it. But then when he says وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ, a veil is somewhat voluntary. You can remove a veil. But there is a veil that's covering their eyes. And sam'ihim can go towards the ceiling, or it can go towards the veil when you look at the sentence. And what you can see is there's an element of Allah is always one step ahead. You're not going to fool Allah. When you've chosen to be blinded and you've chosen to not listen, Allah is one step ahead and says, well, I'll seal it for you. But then what you also realize is there's an element of volition, that a person is choosing to do this thing. And that's why وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ, because it's veil over their eyes.
So you are saying that Allah Samihim could be with Rishawa as well.
Because wow atuf is actually, you're not sure the atuf is on what.
Fair enough.
Whereas Khatam Allahu ala qulubihim is, you technically could say Khatam Allah, but then you would have to say ala what? Because ala qulubihim, fine. But then you say wa ala sam'ihim wa ala absarihim wa shawa. That sensory motion is a choice for you to perceive.
Yeah.
When you refuse to perceive, Allah closes your heart. But Allah doesn't close your heart at the end, because you don't want to be seen to be one step ahead of who doesn't know.
Yeah.
So Allah will always put the preposition from doing something first.
What he is saying here in Tafsir al-Qurtubi, Khatam Allah ala qulubihim, that he covered it in a way that nothing will enter it. And Al-Khatam, he goes about the meaning of Al-Khatam, and then we'll go to Ala Samihim. وَعَلَى سَمِعِهِمْ وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ. Rishawa.
So he's done the same thing like what Talha is talking about, that Samihim and Absarihim added with the Rishawa rather than the other.
Yes.
Rather than the Khatam.
والبصر يدرك به الأجسام والألوان والهيئات كلها. So he's saying that the eyesight, you could see things and colors and the size, and even without knowing what they mean, because the words, you need to know the language to understand. While here he's saying if you have a good eyesight, you can still see a lot of things and you don't have to have knowledge. So what you do to stop him seeing it, you put a veil. He won't see it anymore. While the sound and understanding, he need the language, he need mental state, he need to be compass mentors, need a certain age. But you might talk to a child things he doesn't understand. I mean, sometimes you notice Rawan when he used to be here, she said, I don't understand any of these. So obviously her age doesn't allow. I asked a question, my students questions, those who are still younger, they couldn't answer 2 questions on a woman who's having a period cannot fast, a woman who had a baby cannot fast. There's nothing in his mind about relationship between this and fasting, so he said, I don't know. The answer was, I don't know. While anyone, you could say, yeah, it looks like a wall, it looks like a pen, it looks like a stick or something. It will have, this is what he's saying here in Qurtubi. So going back to Tafsir, I didn't actually show the Qurtubi on the online. Going back to Al-Baqarah, خَطَبَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. And they have Rishawa, veil. Rishawa, it's not terribly like, very thick. Rishawa sometimes. A veil, you can sometimes see slightly things, and they have severe punishment, azabun azim. Usually azab could be azab azim, azab alim, painful, azab shadid, severe. Adab muhin, humiliating. Adabun kabir, massive. There is multiple adab, different type of adab to different type of people. People might be more punished by humiliating them than by kicking them. People might be more punished by cutting their wage than being put in prison or something. So people reflect so all these will come obviously in the Quran. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. And if you look now, he have mentioned the believers, ذَلْكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, describe them. وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ والذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك وبالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون. Five verses about the believers. The unbelievers, 2 verses. إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم. Finish with the unbelievers. Because it's easy, disbeliever is unbeliever. The difficult one is the hypocrite. So next week, inshallah, we'll go through the hypocrite, their description. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. From ayah 8, he carries on until ayah 21. From 8 to 21, 12, 13 ayahs talking about the hypocrite, describing them to us. And the hypocrite described in the Quran in many places. If you know all the descriptions of the hypocrite, I don't think you will be cheated. You will, a small incident happened yesterday and today, and subhanAllah, people, you have a mental image on them, you have an impression on what type of person is this, and you leave it for a few years and then come back and reinforce it. They reinforce it. They lie again. They cheat again. They try to, be smarter again. But if you are already trained how to spot these people, you find that I wasn't wrong when I said this, when I took that impression. I mean, I don't know, we don't want to mention names or incidents, but my children, for them to know somebody, took them probably 3 or 4 years or 5 years before they, Dad, yeah, you probably were right. When we saw the person, said, be careful, it's a good person, but could be this, could be this, could happen, and description of hypocrite will come, inshallah. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. We'll have to go back now to have to start the subject, how you deal with price increases, things becoming expensive. So I will have to switch this
Just a quick question. Absar means eyes, does it?